To make it possible to legally tow a trailer, I need to have trailer lights. For this, I ordered from CURT a powered taillight converter. For my 2002 Ford Focus, I got part number 59146. I highly recommend that you call the manufacturer of your wiring kit to determine if you have the correct wiring kit. This kit was not even listed for my vehicle, but it was the only one that worked with it. If you follow my videos, you know that the first kit that I bought said it worked with my vehicle, but it did not because I had a 3-bulb taillight setup. This kit comes with everything that you see here. You get 4 quick splice connectors, zip ties, wire connectors, the wire converter box, wire, inline fuse, and a cover to protect your plug. Instead of using the electrical connectors that came in the kit, I decided to upgrade a little bit to a higher quality connector. This is not necessary, but I like to go way above and beyond on all of my projects. The wire connectors that I went with are waterproof. The ring terminals I had to change to the correct size for my upgraded power wires, and they also have heat shrink ends for a secure seal. And the butt connectors also have heat shrink to seal the connection. I used some ultra black silicone to seal the holes in my wiring boots for the tail lights and for the hole coming into the vehicle that I drill later on. You need to first start by removing the 3 thumb screws in the trunk holding the tail light in place. Once those are removed, you need to find the rubber boot that the wires come through. You are going to make a small cut, ideally just big enough to get the red, yellow, and brown wires through. Once the wires are through, you are going to disconnect the upper bulb and locate the blue wire. Place your connector on that blue wire, then grab the yellow wire from the kit. Crimp this together, making sure that the metal clip is all the way down, then close the clip. Alright, so the next step I got to do is use a test light to determine which wire is going to be the stop light and which wire is going to be the light for when the actual vehicle lights are turned on. So I have my test light on the right side. I'm going to go turn on the vehicle's lights and we're going to test out to see which wire it is. Now that the lights are on, start from the outside wire and work our way in. Nothing there. So most likely that's going to be the stop light. There you go. So we got power right there. Center one is going to be the orange wire, is going to be your running lights. Now let's go back and check on the actual brakes to see which one it is. Alright, now to test the brakes, you actually have to have the ignition key turned on or the brake lights don't come on. So to turn the ignition key on, I have a piece of wood propped up between my seat and the brake pedal so I could do this by myself. We're going to test it again. So we know the center one is the running light. So let's just double check to make sure that that is the one that is for the running lights. In the center one, nothing. So we're going to go on to the remaining wire that didn't say ground on the clip. We're going to test this one out. So we know the outside wire, the green and red wire, is actually going to be our brake lights. So now we know which wires to actually connect to. Alright, so I'm going to start with the outside wire first, just because it's easier for me. Prop that back here. Then you click it closed, and it's stuck inside there. Now, because I'm using the weatherproof ones, it's got a lot of dielectric grease in there to help keep it sealed. So I'm going to use the red wire, which is the brake wire, for the stoplight. Just clamp that down into place. I find it easiest to push the connector over against the wire that is your factory wire to hold it into place. Last wire we're going to have to deal with on this side of the taillights is going to be the orange one, which is going to be your running lights. You can see all that dielectric grease nicely squeezing on out. At this point, I decided to mount the wire converter directly behind the driver's taillight cover inside the vehicle. In this spot, it will be completely covered by the interior panel, but when I'm working on my vehicle, I have full access to it. Alright, so the right turn signal is going to be the blue and red wire. You can also check on here to see which one says ground in case yours is a little bit different. The way I routed the wire across the vehicle, it made this green wire a little bit too short, so I just added an extension. The directions say to route the power wire under the vehicle, but I did not like any of the routing locations for my vehicle. I decided to run the wire in the same way that I did my zero gauge for my stereo system inside the vehicle. I had to take off the wheel and the inner fender to gain access to the main electrical connector. Before you mess with the main wiring harness, you need to disconnect the positive cable on the battery to make sure that there is no power going to your vehicle. To remove the connector, there is a 10mm bolt that will loosen up, but it will not remove. So don't keep twisting it thinking that it's going to come out eventually. You just need to pull the clip off. With the bracket free, I drilled a hole just large enough for the wire to go through. I then fed the wire into the vehicle and reconnected the main wiring harness. I ran the wires inside the trim panels, which just pry up all the way to the back seat, where I ran it underneath the fold-down seat and behind the driver's side panel. After that, I moved back up to the front and ran the power wire along the strut housing under the air box. With the wire run, it was time to use a butt connector and install the inline fuse. On the other end, I also installed the wire connector to attach it to my battery. Now you can reconnect your battery. With the fuse pulled out, you can connect your inline fuse wire to your battery. There will be no power going through the wire until you put the fuse into the fuse holder. Next, it was time to connect the power wire to the converter box. I used the butt connector again and used the heat shrink for a secure connection. The last wire that needed to be connected was the ground. For my vehicle, I used the mock subwoofer mount bolt, but you can mount yours anywhere you can get a solid ground. Alright, so it is now the following day, and I have a whole lot more light and a lot more heat, so my camera's in focus. But all I needed to do was put the fuse inside the fuse holder to get power going back to the wire converter. So it was a little bit hard to show last night, but what I did was I ran the wire through the firewall and along the back side of the panels, all down along here. That's where I ran my zero gauge wire and all my power cables for my audio system. It's all run underneath, nice and tucked in. Alright, so with all the rear interior panels in the vehicle, the only thing that I have left is the cable coming out. This is the extent of the cables that you can see coming out. At the end, I have a tester, which we're going to be able to test the taillights to make sure that everything works the way it needs to. I'm going to start by putting on the taillights, then hitting the brakes, and then putting on the turn signals, left then right. As you can see, everything works exactly how I need it. Now I'm ready to start towing. With your tester, if for some reason you are not getting a light when you need to, you can go back to where you made the connection and use the test light. This will be an example on the brake lights. I got the brake lights on right now. You can open up the connector and just touch that wire. Now you know right there you have connection. If for some reason you touch that and there is no connection, most likely the clamp is not down far enough to make contact with the wire. You need to reclamp it and just investigate it that way. Thanks for watching. I hope that this video was helpful to you. Please let me know down in the comment sections what you think, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And subscribe below to see more upcoming projects with this vehicle, and many more.